should have been a pipe. In fact, it was supposed to, two things are supposed to come together. One of the things I've always complained about, and I have been out there after a rainfall, when we've had, the water got up to the slot here. And Margaret and I stood there, when we threw a stick on the top of the water to watch which way it flowed, it actually came into our community. And part of that was because of water draining off the FPL property, because both come together. And I think that's why I think it's not adequate under Gateway Boulevard. It's just too much
Yeah, I agree too.
area.
When that rear levee was coming over there, the water on the other side was so high,
Mhm.
it was like a hydraulic push,
No.
displacing much more.
I agree with that. But that piping underneath, when they put the pipe underneath Gateway for, next door to us, Hampton Park, do you have any idea if that pipe that they installed under the road is larger than the one that we have?
I have no idea.
Because I'll tell you, we've got more surface area, plus the villages, plus FPL trying to get underneath that one pipe.
We could hold up all those drawings, and, that's what we're doing.
But you know what I'm saying there, that'd be great.
This engineering study that you're doing, what's going to be the result of that?
Well, right now, we're just gathering data,
Yeah.
more survey information, so that we go to the Water Management District and say, we can show them the drone pictures and the photography and the flooding, and then you look at it, we say, okay, here's current survey data, here's benchmark, here's the size of the weir, and then you hire an engineer to say it should really be this size, and you sit down with them, have a pre-application meeting, and then, you talk about all that.
Well, is it normal to have an overflow on a weir that's higher than the street level in your community?
I haven't seen one like that before, but we'll look at that. I haven't read the report that closely before. All I know is we need a lot more information, and even some of the staff gauges they have in the ponds, they could report.
I will say the slot, the drainage slot, whatever the technical name is, I'm not sure, that is below road level,
Yeah.
but it
The
has to
orifice.
get, the orifice, there you go, has to go way above that to get over the top of the weir. And you're in the road before it gets there.
The
You're
top
well
of the
in
weir is above the level of the road, though.
Absolutely. That's what I'm saying.
And typically, a lot of those structures like that have an orifice, have a weed barrier or a flow
Yeah, that's one thing that we
barrier
don't have.
further down, so, when we went out and inspected it, we found one turtle in it, but that's not to say.
Yeah, something else wasn't
It
there.
got backed up before that, and high water.
Yeah, when you're 6 inches of depth, small objects, a couple of branches bundled together can block it up and start trouble.
We really haven't been, it hasn't, only that turtle's really done it, it's really blocked it. So, I go out there almost every other day.
Do you really?
Yeah.
I haven't been out there in a while, but
In the winter, when the
In years
water is
past,
really
I have.
low, what's the level of the water? Is it above or below?
Well, it's below, there's the weir has there's the weir here, and then it has like a little pond area, and then there's rocks here. That's usually dry.
yeah,
It's
I have
So
seen
it's
it,
well
but
below the orifice.
yeah.
I have seen the water in that flowway there to actually dry up, literally dry up.
The
where-
ditch.
The ditch.
Oh, yeah, I've seen that. yeah,
And so
yeah.
well, that's literally the bottom of where the weir is. There's a little bit low spot by the weir, but I see it dry. In fact, that's why one of the residents over there started to build a little bridge across. He didn't think there was any flow there. He was using the other side of the flowway as his little garden
ground.
spot and whatnot. And, he was actually building a dam across there.
And one thing we can also do, looking at that and holding water, is when they have a benchmark, we could put a staff gauge in there, one that's readable and tie it into the survey so it's accurate, so you get X amount of rainfall, okay, how much is in the ditch?
That's not much to put in, is it?
No.
I like to have that.
And that's, we're waiting for the water to drop like the lake banks, we probably won't start cleaning the ditch and doing any of that till December.
I have sometimes felt that ditch doesn't have enough pitch or slope to it either. In fact, may have it, in some parts, may even pitch the wrong way.
Well, we'll look at the plans
Yeah.
and see what, was it supposed to be a 3-to-1, a 4-to-1, plus all the vegetation that's growing in there?
Yeah,
along
and
the banks,
and retention of sediment and whatnot.
I know it was brought up when you came to our community.
Which hour?
When we had that meeting.
Yeah,
We had our
first hour or
board,
the second hour?
when we had our board meeting a week after the storm. About scoping and filming, getting a camera down some of our drains.
Actually, I thought that was done.
Well, it was done when Extreme Divers did it, but
Yeah.
there's been residents that would like to see it done again to see if anything got
A
jammed
waste
in
of
it.
money, waste of money. There's
It's-
nothing been jammed in there again.
I know.
And that's just, you know, they could,
I know a lot of it got cleaned out
Yeah.
during
Oh, I
the
know.
storm.
Yeah,
Yeah, we can do that. One thing we're doing filming too, and I have Extreme, and I'm getting a quote from another group that does 48-inch culverts and 64s that go under tree line,
Mhm.
84s, and then going out to the flowway, there's 464s. We're gonna go in and check all those to make sure downstream that there's not a sandbar, or they're not partially blocked or filled with silt.
does Hampton Park have a weir? I didn't think, how did they get away without something like that?
Well, that's a good question. I really don't know, because I haven't looked into the whole thing, but really from Gateway, the only weirs out there, and they're adjustable, are the two over Gateway Greens.
I'm aware of that.
And they don't have huge gates where you can let,
I know.
large amounts of water. Matter of fact, when we opened them up before the storm, it took about 2 days to drop it 6 inches. And that, was leaving them wide open, and then we shut them, so all that water that went downstream in the Pelican had time to clear out before the storm.
Well, I have to confess that from our perspective, we're high country, and everything flows from us downstream, and yet we probably had some of the worst flooding,
Yeah.
which tells me that we have restricted the flow maybe too much.
It could be, there's probably a number of reasons for
Mhm.
it. And I know we have the school board that's coming back, they were gonna make a presentation right before the hurricane on the new school site, and they called me 2 weeks ago to reschedule for November, and I said, that's fine, but this time, instead of just talking about curriculum and community involvement, bring your engineer. Let's talk about the storm.
And who knows, that last section the Pelican did right off of Gateway, that could have contributed a little bit too, because that might have been lower ground that some of that water would have flowed to, now it's higher ground flowing off of.
That wouldn't affect us though, would it?
Well, it does if we don't have anywhere to go.
I thought the water on the downstream side of the weir was lower than it was on the upstream.
It was.
It was,
then that
but
wouldn't affect
no,
us.
there was a point in time there where the channel or the ditch
Yeah.
was full. In fact, when you got to Gateway Boulevard, it actually, on our side of Gateway Boulevard, at the pipe that runs on the ground, it was actually higher on our side than it was on the other. It was flowing
But
through that
was it
pipe.
backing all the way up to the weir and on our side of the weir?
To some extent, it was. To some extent, it was.
Yeah, I think there was some back pressure
Yeah.
going on over there.
And what happened, you had to time it right and see it, the right day. But because a couple days later, it seemed to have sort of caught balance, and more water must have got out from us and got across the street, because the two were.
Okay, the only thing I'd heard was that the downstream side of the weir was always lower than the upstream, so maybe.
Well, I think that's intent, it's intent usually.
Well,
Because to be-
certainly it is, but I
Yeah,
mean-
and it's going to be with only a 3 square foot opening.
Yeah.
Some of the water did wash around the outside edge
Yeah, I
of
saw
the
the
weir.
pictures.
But the fact is that there's just too much water happening to get out of there. Too much water comes together. Us, the villages, and the FBL property have to exit through that same trench to get to the other side of.
Now that we know this, isn't there some sort of liability
Actually,
involved?
we talked about this. We've known it for a while. And we even went back and searched who was responsible, because it's my understanding that trench was never accepted or approved.
That I don't know.
And you can probably check with Ed about that, I bet you he knows. And it was supposed to be piped. And Lennar was supposed to present something, because they weren't just supposed to stop at the end of our property, which is what they did. They were supposed to be somewhat responsible for getting the water away from our property too, across the FBL property, and they never, as far as I know, did much of anything other than dig a trench.
Another thing we found out when we were down there investigating is the county and even the Gateway fought it years ago. There's some drainage coming over from the airport property under Daniels
No kidding.
into the south end of Gateway. And that was, the whole Gateway premise was no off-site water would
Right,
come in that
right.
system. But we went out there and I checked the culverts, and because it was so high, it was flowing under Daniels, and it wasn't just the water from Daniels, it was picking up the high
From the airport.
elevation across the street. and it actually causing some constriction down the south end of the system.
Which backs us up and just makes it that much harder to get it out of the other communities. But I did notice, I actually spent a couple of nights over in Gateway Greens because they had electricity, and somebody I knew someone that lived over there. I have to tell you, their flooding was nothing like ours. They had almost nothing. And,
Electricity too.
well, that's what I just said, that's why I was there.
Yeah, I know, but I mean,
Well, that's a different subject, though. It's not their
Well, I'll tell you
responsibility.
what, I'll go get copies of those reports and I'll give you an update, you know, we are in the next meeting, but, we're kind of waiting, you know, I don't wanna put the staff gauges in like.
I'm-
We can't really go maintain those ditches and some of the survey information we need to be able to get down to the structures.
It would be good to have the data points on where the elevations are and where they're supposed to be. Because I think we talked about it, I don't think they're right. And it could be for a number of resettling or whatever, you know?
And I have one thing I was gonna bring up, that we were also gonna make some improvements on, that'll take some cooperation from the HOA, is, during the storm, the master pump station that we were running generators and pumps back and forth. And so, right there at that main intersection, you know, when people were trying to get in and out, and that pump station's there, and what we wanna do is see if I get another 20 feet of a utility easement on either side of it, and about 5 feet back. And then what we can do is put some pads in there, so if we have an issue in a sliding gate, that we can put the pump up there, put the generator up there, open the sliding gate door, and not have any vehicles out.
Well, we have two board members here right now. I don't think we'd have any major objection if we could see what the plan was and where it would be and how it looked.
And at the same time, what we'd do too is rebuild that front section of that and re-fence it, and you could put some, you know, more modern
Decorative
slats.
Make it a little attractive, yeah.
Yeah.
There you are, your biggest pump station, stuff coming from across the street, and it's right at the entrance of the community. I've always complained about that. That's terrible.
There's some people that have their houses right next to over in Pelican. I'm like, you bought that lot?
They had no idea what it was, I'm sure. If they came from up north, they'd never seen anything like that.
But, anyway, I'll
All right, so we're gonna.
do a sketch, and I'll go get copies of that report for everybody.
That'd be
Take it
great.
back, And
And
then when
I'll-
we get the new survey information, then you can look at it and go, oh, okay.
Yeah.
You have that in a PDF.
Yeah, I'm sure I do.
I'd rather have it electronically myself.
If you wanna just email it to Diane and then Diane can get it out.
Distribute it to us. That'd be great, and then we can get
That means
it.
you don't have to print out.
I'd like to have some of this stuff in the office also, and files in the office.
I'll tell you what, I'll make you a couple copies right here to take back, and then I'll email it.
I need a printed copy.
Yeah,
Please.
some people like the printer, have it, and you can draw on it.
Yeah, you can mark it up. Yeah, it's easier. All right, well, so something's happening anyway, because we have a meeting on Monday, and I know this is gonna be a subject to be discussed. And I did come to your defense a couple of times, like that one guy. No, there were people, I couldn't believe were convinced that somehow we sabotaged those drains, or the drains were clogged, and it was the fact that the drains were open is why the water was coming out of the lakes into the stream, into the street so well, because it was just seeking its own level and finding it, but.
No matter how much you explain to
I know.
people, some people just do not get it.
But we're gonna fix it.
It's sometimes it's just,
Somehow.
it's.
We're gonna try to fix it.
We're gonna try to
Hey, if you
fix
Oh,
miss
I
the
wanna
meeting,
hear it.
if you don't invite me, I won't be offended.
Hey, we're throwing tomatoes at you at least.
We do appreciate it
Garbage
though.
can lid.
Okay, all right, so we've talked about the, I think the
Weird
weird.
number 5.
Yeah, jumped ahead, but that's,
So what are we? I mean,
something's definitely wrong and we need to do something.
I think
No
a
question.
bigger orifice opening would be a big help.
I agree.
Now with that weir being open on both sides, we're never gonna see the water levels like what we saw before, because it's just not gonna build up that quick.
Unless they come and do
Unless they
something.
come and fix it.
I know.
1 inch of rain over 1 acre of ground is 3,600 cubic feet of water.
Think about that.
Now,
Now,
add that by
a
200.
cubic foot is several gallons. And then multiply it times 200.
Is it,
And
are you
think
sure?
about-
Are you sure our it's 200? We have 200
We have
acres.
200 acres, yeah.
About that.
Yeah. I've walked the perimeter of it, it's 4 miles, several times.
In here, it says 346, but I think that includes the lakes.
No, it includes probably the
Well, we want to
land
include
across.
the lakes too, because that's
Yeah, it includes the land across the street.
we don't have Oh, 346. How many acres you said?
I said 200. I knew it's
There's
a
no,
little.
there's now 100 acres. over
200
there.
was conservative. Actually, there's extra land across the street that's wetland.
Yeah, but
there
that's
is
only,
some-
that's only
It's a
like
few
7
acres,
acres.
yeah.
So say it's 300 acres?
That I find hard to believe. But I don't want to kill a lot of time on that. All right, flooding in Stony
I
Brook,
looked in there, I
we
couldn't
all,
find it.
everybody here understand why this place flooded? That there was a lot of rainwater and it couldn't get out of here. It just couldn't get out of here. It wasn't the drains being clogged, it wasn't, you know,
The board could not pump the water off the streets back into the lakes.
yeah, because that's just would come back into the street. And there was no pumping the water back out into the ball field because that drains right into the other lake, which, and all the lakes are interconnected and water would seek its own level again. All you would have accomplished, maybe, would have been increasing the surface area to increase evaporation, but I don't know how much that would happen. Humidity was nearly 100%, it wasn't going anywhere.
But it's still being
They
in
can-
Stony Brook and not being able to get out of your driveway for 5 days, and then the next neighborhood over can, there's still
a lot of hard
confusion
feelings. Hard feelings.
on, you know, everybody can say who did it and where it was before or whatever.
Well,
I just want to be able to
When
move
your dam
on.
is higher than your roadway's gonna get flooded, period.
Exactly.
That's simple.
That's it, you can't.
But the
It's
dam,
simple.
but the dam
Think
is
about-
lower than the elevation
At
of
the
each house.
passage point it is. but
Less than
not-
a foot.
Yeah, I know, it ain't much.
9.6 inches, as a matter of fact.
And that's
Less than 10
assuming
inches.
that it's built to spec. And
Exactly,
I would be
exactly.
willing to bet that it's not.
Yeah, yeah.
mean- what do you mean,
That's
the height?
exact-
Yeah. The elevations between the lift stations and that weir and,
yeah,
and,
yeah.
and, you know, and maybe it says somewhere in the thing that's a 100-year storm, but I can't believe a few
I read it
inches
somewhere in there.
distinguishes, but I can't believe that a few inches distinguishes between a 25-year elevation and a 100-year elevation. 100 years, it should be a really serious
Why on
storm.
earth would you build it to a 25-year flood anyway?
They happen every year. Just about every few
That's
years.
how long it's gonna take to get some really good answers and get it fixed. That's
What,
No,
25
Well,
years?
I'm confident that we know what is going on. Doing something about it and getting South Florida Water Management to sign on.
Well,
is
let's
another
ask them
issue.
not to fix the weir until they open up the orifice or
We
something.
can do that, else, no, not here though, I
Yeah.
understand. All right, Stony Brook, committee requests flooding, approval of minutes, we've done that. Does anybody have anything else? I don't wanna,
Are we talking about flooding still?
I don't know how much more we can talk about flooding unless you got something you wanna bring up.
No, I'm in.
I will tell you that it was 2 days before I could get out of my driveway and safely
Yeah.
drive.
Me
And,
too.
and even then, still, that one spot between Pebblestone and Greenstone was treacherous to be going out of there with a Toyota Camry.
Very high.
Yeah.
And to go around the other direction on Stone Valley was no gain either.
You need a tow truck maybe to get out of there.
I didn't understand what Chris was saying about putting stands and sliders and up near the front for the,
He's talking
the pump
about,
station?
yeah.
he's talking about putting something up there that they can actually park some vehicles up there. Because you weren't here, they were actually taking up space, putting pumps and generators to pump stuff out of the lift station to truck it away. They were using tanks to truck the stuff
okay.
away. And on a nonstop basis there for a while because of the fear of having contamination. Because the water in some spots further up the community was getting over the lift stations.
Okay.
And
It
during the
can't handle that
hurricane,
much
and during the hurricane, the water was over the berm and that flowway.
Yeah.
It was level at one time. That's a lot of water.
And it set off bells and whistles, and sometimes, I don't know if the system shuts down when that happens or not, but maybe it did, because they did have a problem. Now, rumors started that we had a massive leak of sewage, but that really didn't happen.
Yeah.
And the odors that they were smelling down there around the green gemstone area, for the most part, was due to the fact that the remediation system shut down that we have down there to control the odor. You may not even be aware of that.
I just heard there was one breach somewhere,
Yeah,
but I
well,
heard it was in the
yeah,
back of the
That
neighborhood.
wasn't entirely accurate, it might have been overstated. But we have a remediation system down in the one by Gemstone, and that's to control odor. And when that's not working, the odor's pretty extensive down there. That's why so much odor existed at that, and everybody thought it was sewage pouring out, but that wasn't quite true. And because the guys who went down there inspected it, they could see what was going on.
I remember somebody on my street saying they had some sewage back up into their house.
I heard a couple stories about that. I don't know if that's true or not, but I will tell you this, my toilet started flushing slowly. I
Yeah.
noticed that.
Yeah,
I did notice that. So water was having trouble finding a place
Right.
to go,
Yeah.
but it didn't back up.
that lasted a couple of days.
Yeah, it did. I agree with that. Because they were having trouble, that's when they brought the tanks in to make sure they were getting the water out of the community, the
Yeah.
sewage water, because,
Then suddenly it opened up.
it went down. Yeah.
So, in our communities, 342 acres is the total of this, you got building coverage, pavement, water management access, and then
And that's just strictly, now,
retention-
what's the date on
retention
this?
ponds
You can-
too?
Is there,
what has the,
see, one of the
it
problems
has the
is,
project location, so that's our community. That's Stoneybrook.
I just want to be careful that, where's where's,
Well, you can't really see.
the gateway? Well, the problem is, in some of the original drawings, it shows the other side of the street as being part of us. Because Gateway originally was gonna run
Well,
through us.
let's just add the villages to it now.
This is
Well,
signed,
that's what I'm saying, in that
signed in
number.
'02.
What's that?
It's signed in '02.
Yeah, okay. In '02, that would have included the villages.
So if we get
So,
1 inch of rainwater, we're getting 9.2 million gallons of water.
did you convert from cubic feet to gallons?
Yeah, that's what I did right
Okay.
here. But I'm trying to figure out how much water goes.
And you're trying to
through.
get rid of that
That's what I'm trying to. I can't
through a
find a
3
conversion.
square foot hole. Think about that.
I'm trying to find the conversion. How much water drains out of a 1 cubic foot hole? I'm trying to get that conversion. I can't
Pressure,
find it.
you can't, because
Definitely.
pressure is gonna determine
It
that.
does, doesn't it?
Okay, yeah, you don't have that factor. In fact, the pressure will be minimal, because elevation determines pressure.
Yeah.
Right.
And
Yeah.
you're right at the top of it, you know.
It's not gonna be much pressure.
So did he say when the next meetings are that you can attend, when they were having the engineers come in and talk, or are they just having private
That was
meetings?
that was for the school. I don't know what that's
Yeah,
for.
yeah, that, but I
was-
would think it'd be a public meeting if they had it, but I don't know when it would be. You could find that out from Kathy or probably
Well, I'd like to find
Margaret.
out before the meeting, because I
I
wanna
know
know
that, but
what's,
they would have an idea from their agenda
Yeah.
when the school system's coming down.
because I know there's meetings coming up on the expansion on 82, just thinking that, you know, we were affected by the electric from that area, and then I don't know what they're gonna be doing on ditches or piping
Well,
from
the
82.
the drainage ditches will be covered over and that water will be piped. There'll be sidewalks and buffer area over where those ditches are right now.
And then the new school that's going in, they've already got engineers working on that to
Oh,
make
of
sure that
course
doesn't
they do.
affect us
Of
too,
course they
right?
do. All right.
It won't affect. What do you mean affect for?
Just more water, I'm just making
Nothing.
sure
Nothing comes into our
water's.
community because we got a berm that goes around our property. So whatever we get in our community is falling in our community.
Yeah.
Nothing comes in.
But I thought you said
Generally-
the village shares our weir, we get their water.
Well,
what
they,
you said?
we get from their rain sewers, we get their water that comes into our lakes, that's correct.
Anybody else off Gateway or just the
No,
villas?
just the villas, because the villas originally,
Say
in
the
that
village.
plan there,
Say the
villages.
villages.
I'm sorry, villages.
Villages.
You're right.
In that,
Not
in
you
that, in
guys.
that plan right there, that's
Villages.
dated '02, I guarantee you, in that plan, the villages were still part of us on paper. And that some of the calculations, they were based upon that. And whoever designed that weir that way, for that much area, that's crazy. That's just insane.
We can't go to the meetings and say, hey, tell them to put in their own weir.
Ain't that easy.
Then are we the only one that has?
Villages need their own
No.
weir? I don't know.
No, there are several other
Not an
large
engineer.
communities. You got some communities out there that really don't even have lakes,
Sure,
you
what
know?
is
And so it's,
Was flooded in for 5 days.
Were they flooded?
oh, here we go.
Were the villages flooded?
Yes.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, they
Yeah, 'cause
were.
they had nowhere to go. We
I
were
guess they were
backing them up.
exactly like
On
us,
email,
yeah.
and this is all the elevations of all
Sharing
the
water
structures,
space.
that's the original permit for
Well,
Stoneybrook.
okay.
That's what we have right here.
We have that.
Okay. And
That's what
this
you-
is the Tetra Tech report that goes through the whole thing and evaluates the structure. And,
That's the flowway you had the cross-section
Right,
there, yeah.
right, so-
Which was never built to spec either.
Hey, how do you know that?
How do I know that? Because that was a major battle
Here you
with
go.
Gary.
See, if you want an autograph picture, you're where there.
There you go.
You want that? We actually all have that. That was in our.
And thank Beck's Engineering, because they would refuse to produce an as-built. They provided a letter that said, built substantially to the engineering requirements, blah, blah,
In
blah.
our opinion, it appears to be.
Yeah, and it wasn't close. Physically impossible to achieve. Because they didn't have enough room there.
Hey, but I read this report, it said everything's fine, so.
I know. All right, anybody have anything? How about the audience?
Yes.
Uh-oh.
Look at that. In the scoop, I put an article from Chris about the weir and the flooding, so that everybody in Stoneybrook should know actually what happened and why it occurred.
That could be a major assumption, because you have to be able to read and understand what they're reading.
Right, but it's there so that maybe we'll get as many questions on Monday. Okay, so, I mean, you can bring the scoop in with you to the meeting, because it's in there,
All right.
so that.
I have to confess, I didn't read the scoop. I had other things
What
going on.
page is it on, Kathy?
You sure did.
What page is it on?
It's under, it says CDD, update, news, gateways.
Yeah, I didn't get mine in my house. I had to go to the clubhouse and pick up a
It says
copy.
gateway services.
I got
community
Do you know,
services.
that's the mail carrier that delivers on Gemstone? She's just simply not doing her job. She
Jim
gets-
Stone and Weatherstone get screwed.
Yeah,
Well, her
she's
couple
lazy.
Cooker Creek too.
No, you have you and Weatherstone have
Weatherstone.
the same, and we get a different lady.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to go
One other
make her some
question.
cookies
Sure.
or something.
Your next meeting is November 9th, that's a what, a
Thursday. It's a
It is
Thursday. Yeah.
Our meeting here or your meeting?
Your
Your,
meeting
this meeting.
November 9th.
is a Thursday.
So it isn't November 9th.
It's gotta be,
I told her that when she asked for comments, and I never got an answer
All
from
right,
her.
so.
does
we
anybody
gotta
have a
make it
calendar?
Yeah.
Yeah, I did, I
Yeah.
just looked at mine.
It'd be November 8th.
9th is a
November 8th?
Wednesday.
Is the second Wednesday.
So if anybody is listening when they make the minutes, then we're gonna approve the meeting for the next meeting in November to be November 8th.
Is it Allison? Allison?
Yes, Allison Bruce.
Allison.
That we will be meeting on the 8th of November, which is the second Wednesday in November.
Okay, thank you.
I appreciate that. Yeah,
Page 5.
okay.
Let me see it. Since I got 2 scoops in my house.
I mean, do you want it right
I
now?
got 2 scoops in my house. They delivered 2 of them.
Yeah, I keep one in the home and I keep one in the car.
We actually had, someone went down and complained to the postmaster from the post office where that woman works out of, and he was no help at all. It was like, you know
I
what
tried
his
to
answer
call him.
was? Send it out first class, it'll get there then. And then you wanna smack them.
I complain all the time to them, because we're gone so much, and they hold it, and then don't deliver it. It's just terrible.
You ready?
All right, yeah, we're about ready. So I'll take a motion.
I'll make a motion that we adjourn the meeting.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye,
We're done.
just like that.
You got
Right
it?
before 4.
Yep.
Joe, can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Because like we have emails and stuff that are going
Okay.
to the cable committee and stuff like that, so anything that we talk about at these meetings, I can't email you or you on.
Well,
Okay.
essentially, it's a separate subject,
Okay.
yeah. I just want to say, just for information's sake, everybody here should have some understanding of what happened in that flood. And this is factual, we're not making it up. The drains are fine, that's not the issue. So if people ask or start saying something, try to get the truth of the facts out there, okay? I also want to just update you, and this is not really for this committee, but we have, the board did approve a proposal to submit to Comcast. I'm waiting for the final version of it to come from Ian. Couple of changes, couple modifications. Now, that doesn't mean that Comcast is going to agree, but we do have a fundamental proposal to submit.
So we weren't able to look at that?
Yeah, we did.
Prior to that?
Basically, Kelly and I handled that at
Okay.
the end. There,
Oh,
moving along.
Trust you.
For the better or for the worse?
Okay.
For the worst. We're screwing everybody these days.
Yeah.
It's for the better.
And the committee gets
So how much
kickbacks.
is it gonna be?
And the committee gets kickbacks.
How much is it?
Right.
About 79, just under 80 bucks. Just under 80 bucks.
What do you pay right now for Comcast?
I pay 59, no, $45 I pay.
Out of pocket.
Out of pocket.
So
So,
you'll probably save about $10 a month.
yeah, something like that, because what you're paying to us.
And get a better service.
Yeah, what you're paying to us, is on top of that. And,
Yeah.
and I'm gonna tell you right now, we've already, the budget will be submitted, you'll be getting in the mail, and we're already proposing a $10 increase just to cover the general expenses of the community.
It's funny
But that
because-
$45 that you're paying now would be gone.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
But I had a problem, and they had to come out to the house, but ever since I got the new clicker, my bill used to be $54. And when, after he left, and I got a new bill, it went down to $45.
Well, don't say anything.
Oh, I never
Yeah,
said
don't
that.
say anything.
But
No,
I
because
thought,
each
what?
one you pay $10 a month to rent those little thingies sometimes.
I know.
Oh, really?
Oh, my goodness.
No, I thought they were,
We're
Oh, not the little ones, but the
no,
big
the
one.
big one.
The DVR one. It's like
No,
$10
I
a
got
month,
the
I think.
DVR, and my bill went down.
You're gonna get quite a package, more than you need.
Oh, sure.
Especially, I
I
mean,
watch enough
you're,
TV.
well, you're gonna have like for 5 HD capable channel selectors with the little boxes. Now, you're gonna get a DVR with the X1 Xfinity system, with a remote that will be voice command if you
I
want.
got that now.
Okay, well,
Yeah, the
that's
X1?
good.
Yeah.
That's cool.
And I gave it to him.
That was very nice of them.
Yeah.
In addition to that, you'll have 2 companion boxes that will
See you
hook
guys.
up to that
See you later.
DVR. You'll be able to access the actual DVR in your bedroom or another
Who's
spot
gonna
in
hook
the house.
that up?
They do.
They do, okay.
They hook it all
I
up.
certainly wouldn't know how.
Meeting, do we have to?
You might have to take some courses on operating
No,
them
it
with
didn't.
the
It took
buttons.
me a while.
But actually, they have offered to come down and give some seminars. That Donna says she'll come down and show everybody how to work it. Having trouble.
Bring your neighbor's kid over, he'll
Yeah, I'll
look it up
straighten
for
you
you.
right out. Actually, they don't have too many kids on that street.
I'm glad you're feeling better, Joe. I had no idea you had that.
You missed all the action.
I guess so.
I'll tell you.
Thank you, thank you. I apologize for that.
Hey, it's not your fault. Don't worry about it.
Oh,
It's good to have you here.
I should go check to see if my water bill's current on Cricket Creek while I'm here.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
I opened up my mail the other day and I had an invoice, but I think